What is up, guys? In today's video, I'm going to be going over what I think is the best sprite so far in Fortnite Chapter 7 Season 3. As always, if you guys do enjoy this video, find it helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you'd like to see more, comment down below what sprite you think is the best, and if you guys would like to use my code in the shop when getting anything, it is EvolveJake, just like my channel name is, and is underneath the webcam at all times. So we currently have several sprites in the kind of pool of sprites that you can get this season. As the season goes on, I believe they may be adding more, or at the very least more variants, which may affect, which sprite is best. And then also Fortnite is a game that gets constant kind of updates, which could also affect the balance of these sprites. For the most part, they're not really that impactful, and I've seen a lot of people criticize this and say that they're pointless and they're not really worth caring about. Because they are so situational. But right now, I think there are 2, maybe 3 in the loot pool that are very good and can actually really impact fights. And that is going to be the Ghost Sprite, the Demon Sprite, and then potentially the 0 Point Sprite as well. We're going to start off with the Ghost Sprite because I think this is the best sprite in the game right now, and the one that is going to help you win fights and win games the most. This makes it to where you go invisible while reloading for a period of time. Once you shoot your weapon or once the timer runs out, you will, reappear. So it's not like you're just permanently invisible. But reloading is something that is incredibly easy to trigger. And making yourself invisible in a fight can, outright just win you the fight or give you a huge advantage on the other players. So for starters, it's really easy to trigger a reload this season because, one, we have the Chaos Reloader shotgun in the loot pool. And I think for most people, that's going to be the preferred shotgun. It starts reloading on its own. So when you shoot this, the Ghost Sprite will turn you invisible once it starts to reload. Also, any of the shotguns that reload a single shell at a time, like the Striker Pump or the Maven Auto, it's very easy to just trigger the reload at any point if you're if you've been fighting, and turn yourself invisible without sacrificing much time. Any weapon you have this with, you can, do the reload and cancel it. The invisibility starts the moment you start the reload. It's not when the reload is complete. So you can start it and cancel it with any weapon to just get a quick piece of invisibility. But I feel like the shotguns in particular in close range fights being super easy to just trigger a reload is something that will help. And another thing that's really going to help is the prevalence of the Ranger pistol. For a lot of people, this is the preferred spray weapon. And it has an incredibly fast reload speed. And in a lot of fights, you'll be spraying an enemy at medium range. You'll get good damage and then you'll want to shockwave on them, right? Well, the fact that you need to reload the pistol anyways, and it has a really fast reload, means that you could just start to shockwave on them, reload in air, turn yourself invisible, and maybe get lost by the enemy in that situation and land on them while invisible. And that's part of what makes this thing so good, I think, is how easy it is to trigger a reload at any point when you're pushing somebody. Makes pushing with these shockwaves really good if you can be invisible while pushing. Especially if you already have damage and you already have pressure on somebody, following that up with mobility and kind of forcing the close range fight and forcing them to fight you is something that you're going to want to do. But it's even better when you're invisible landing on them. And with this season, visual audio has been nerfed, and just audio in general feels worse. I feel like I have a harder time hearing anybody shockwave or overdrive nade just in general. And when you're doing that on top of being invisible, it's something that can help out a lot and just give you a huge advantage in the fight. Another time where I really love this is if I'm pushing an enemy in a bush. There's times where, you want to push an enemy that's in a bush, but it's a bit of a struggle to do so at times. It can create a somewhat random fight, and it's hard for people to see you. But it's going to be even harder if you jump into that bush while invisible because you were able to reload a weapon and turn yourself invisible. So those awkward bush fights can actually heavily go in your favor if you just pop the invisibility in the middle of it. And the same thing I said about pushing while invisible, I feel like is also true if you're trying to evade an enemy. If you're trying to shockwave away from an enemy or reset a fight in some way, being able to just reload and turn yourself invisible is something that can help you get lost. It's not like a guarantee that you get out of there and survive that situation, but anything you could do to make the enemy's life harder in that situation can really benefit you. So the Ghost Sprite, I think there's just a lot of important situations, like in fights or trying to reset fights, where making yourself invisible is really beneficial. And it can happen naturally with the Chaos Reloader shotgun. But it's also just very easy to trigger whenever you need it because, all you have to do is hit your reload button and then swap weapons if you don't want to finish the reload. In the case of the Ranger pistol, it reloads so quick, it's not like it really matters. So it's very easy to trigger and it's very helpful in a fight. And that's why I think the Ghost Sprite is the best one in the game, hands down. If you have this in your collection, you can purchase it for 3,000 dust, which isn't, super cheap, but it's also not incredibly unaffordable either. So that is also a benefit for it. The demon sprite I also think can be pretty helpful. Those are like my top two. The demon sprite gives you siphon. You get health or shield back when you eliminate somebody. And this sounds like it would be really good, but the amount of siphon you get is just incredibly minuscule. You get 5 siphon at level 1, and you get 25 siphon at level 5. So at level 5, it's something, but it's still not incredible. But it's one of those things that can help. Every season of Fortnite, people just say it's incredibly third-party centric, and having any bit of siphon will put you in a better situation to potentially deal with those third parties. And in a fight where you didn't really take that much damage anyways, like let's say you took 70 damage, 50 of that's going to be overshield. 30 of it's real shield. You're going to get 25 back from your siphon after the kill. So it's really helpful in those situations. But just like I said, it's a nice benefit and something that can come up over the course of the game if you're fighting. The ghost sprite is kind of the same way in that like turning yourself invisible can kind of help you deal with third parties as well. Again, it can help you get away. So these are the two that are most impactful in a fight, in my opinion. The siphon is pretty straightforward, but the ghost sprite, I think, has a lot of ways that you can use it and trigger it in a fight. And like, if you're actively playing around the ghost sprite, I think you can get a lot of value out of it throughout the course of the game. The 0-point sprite, I think, could also be good. This gives you a shield bubble whenever you're healing, and the duration of the shield bubble depends on the level of the sprite. I've been told that at level 10, it's 5, or at level 5, it's 10 seconds, so it's probably 2 seconds per level. At the lower levels, that's not going to be that big of a deal, but as you go on, that definitely can be helpful. But I haven't been able to use the 0-point sprite very much because the only one I have is golden. I don't have the regular version, and the golden one costs 15,000 dust to buy back, and so that's just not going to be something that I'm consistently doing. You know, I can consistently do the 3k for the ghost sprite, but I'm not going to be consistently doing 15k for the golden 0-point sprite. But this is something that could really benefit you if you like playing around shield bubbles. Again, it can help you deal with third parties, and you don't always need to use it just strictly to heal. If you carry the chug jug, which is probably the best healing item this season, and you take any amount of white health damage, like let's say you take 1 tick of damage from Storm, then you would be able to trigger the shield bubble whenever you need it, and then that's, you know, a point of value that you could have here. The same is true of the ghost sprite. If you have the ranger pistol and just consistently keep it not loaded and keep it out, like let's say you just shoot 1 bullet and then walk around like that, you'll be able to instantly trigger that invisibility whenever you need it. And so you could do a similar thing with the 0-point sprite if you take 1 tick of storm damage and you carry the chug jug, which will allow you to heal both white and blue. There's a lot of sprites in the loot pool that kind of give loot. Like the earth sprite has a better chance of giving you loot from chests. The dream sprite, you know, gives you loot as you level it up. These can be impactful, sure. Like maybe you get a high rarity weapon for it, or maybe you get heals from it in an important situation. But it's not something that I feel like you can consistently play around in the same way that you can the ghost sprite, the 0-point sprite, or even the siphon sprite. The duck sprite I really dislike. This is the one that gives you shield when you emote. But I had this level 5, and it was so slow that I feel like it was irrelevant. This isn't something that's really going to be that beneficial. I think the water sprite is kind of a similar story, but I feel like it does heal much faster at level 5. I think you get 6 health, or you get 6 shield per tick at level 5 of the water sprite, and that can add up pretty quickly. It's not something I play around that often, but one time where I really like having the water sprite is if I'm going to be landing sunken shores, since basically that entire POI is underwater anyways. So you can drink your starting mini, walk around with your water sprite, and then you'll probably be 50 by the time you find a, you know, big pot to heal up with. So it could save you a little bit of time or just be slightly helpful. If you're going to a POI that has a lot of water, I think the water sprite could be good. And obviously, if you're in like a really scuffed situation in game and there happens to be water that you could heal in, you know, that's great. But it takes so long and you're not that defensive while doing so. Like if someone catches you off, it can go really bad. The punk sprite, so RNG, I don't even really know what that one does. And the king sprite increases your pickaxe damage. I feel like that is something that maybe could matter in build mode for like taking walls, but you're not really going to be pickaxing enemies. There might be the one-off time where like, you know, you completely run out of ammo and then you finish them with the pickaxe because you had the king sprite. A lot of these sprites have very situational moments where they can be helpful, but the reason why I think the ghost sprite is the best is because it can be helpful in pretty much every single fight that you play if you play around it. So I think whenever there is something situational, a lot of people focus on like the 1 or 2 times where it really helped them rather than just the most of the time where it didn't really do anything. And like I said, if you play around the ghost sprite, you can be popping invisibility so frequently, and that can just help you out in so many different fights. But let me know what you guys think of the sprites this season and which one is your favorite down in the comments below. If you guys did find this to be helpful, informative, or interesting, remember to give it a like, subscribe if you would like to see more, and I will see you guys in the next one. Thanks for watching.